Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking all about money.
More specifically, how money affects your relationship, some of the obstacles that we face when we started budgeting our money together, and how we successfully budget our money now.
We're also going to be talking about the importance of having a budget, and we're going to give you some tips and rules to follow so that you can successfully budget your money. Today's video is sponsored by our friends over at You Need a Budget, also known as YNAB if you are too busy and fancy. YNAB is an award-winning personal finance software and app that helps you gain total control of your money. They help you come up with a budget for your money, get out of debt, and successfully build up your savings. We're going to tell you guys all about them and their 4 rules for budgeting your money in a little bit. But for now, why don't we jump right in and talk money?
So the first question that we are going to answer is, do you share a bank account or budget? Let's talk about how we got to where we are now. In the very beginning, when we first started dating, we had separate bank accounts. We dated for 4 years before we got engaged. And when we got engaged, we moved in with each other. And it was really important for Thomas to combine our bank accounts.
So the whole reasoning behind my mindset, I was for combining our bank accounts at first. PJ was a little against it.
I wasn't a little, I was against it.
There you go. And it's because I was very much for combining our finances because in my mind, whenever you get married, you share a life, you share family, you share everything. And in my mind, I felt that we would have a lot less disagreements and arguments if we just combined everything and then planned how we would spend our money together. That's how my parents did it. Granted, they are divorced now, but it's not because of money, but that's how they always did it. So that was kind of like the model for me. And I don't remember them ever fighting about money. So that was just always kind of in my mind. It just was like, oh, well, why wouldn't we? That was kind of where I was at.
You know, honestly, I don't remember if my parents did or did not share a bank account. I feel like they didn't though. I think they were separate. The main reason why I did not want to combine bank accounts was because I was very big into saving money. I really enjoy saving money. I like budgeting my money. I like seeing where it's going, and I like seeing the number increase in my savings account. So I've never lived paycheck to paycheck, and I've always had a certain amount in my savings account. And that goes back to even when I was making like $9,000 a year working at a summer camp. I always had a savings account no matter what job and how much money I made. It was just really important for me to do that. So Thomas, at the time, I don't really think you saved money, did you? Well, I know you didn't budget, but did you save
money?
No, you did have a savings account.
I did. There was never much in it though. I never had more than a couple $100s in my savings account at a time. And that's because I wasn't very frugal with my money.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit more like wishy-washy with it. And I definitely didn't know where every dollar was going like PJ did.
What's funny though is we did not argue about money until 4 years into our relationship. So in the beginning, like if we went out to eat or bought presents for each other, it was all separate. If we did eat together, we would split the check, I feel like, or we would take turns paying for it. I forget how we went about that. It's been so long. But we didn't ever talk about or argue about money in the beginning. It wasn't until we got engaged, moved in with each other, and then you were really pushing me to combine accounts. And I think we didn't combine our accounts for a while. I think we got married.
Yeah, we didn't combine our accounts until we got married. We did, however, come up with a budget while we were engaged and living together because we were going to
remember that.
Yeah, we were going to split like the bills and the groceries
I
and the house payment.
Yeah.
And so, but once we got married, we did combine everything. And
yeah, I remember that because you even said, I feel like I'm paying rent.
I know, I was like, another reason I feel like we should combine is because I feel like I'm paying my fiance rent because he owned the house that we moved into. And I was like, that just feels weird to me. It doesn't feel like a partnership. It felt like I was your tenant or like your roommate living with you. So that is a personal preference. That is how we chose to do it. So no judgment. However it works for you, I say go for it. This is just what works for us.
So we had separate bank accounts when we dated. You pushed to combine our bank accounts when we got engaged. We then waited, and when we got married, I finally caved in and was like, let's just do this. I was tired of hearing him complain about it, and I just wanted to get past it because it was something that we were literally talking about on a weekly or monthly basis, and I was so sick of it. I think you were sick of it.
Yeah.
And so we decided to do it. The next hurdle is the next question.
So the next question is, what was the biggest obstacle or struggle that we faced when we first started budgeting together? I think that goes back to our initial struggle of combining our finances. You were very much against it. I was very much for it. And it's because
at the time we had different spending habits and
Yes.
saving or budgeting habits.
Yes.
So I would say that was our biggest.
Yeah. PJ has always lived like he makes $1 a day. He's very frugal. He knows where every dollar is going. He is very structured in that way. And I wasn't back then. I didn't have any type of plan.
I will say though, even though you did not budget and you did not have a ton of money in your savings account, you did not just blow through your money.
For sure. I was never like, ooh, I got paid, I'm gonna go buy like a new pair of jeans or something like that.
Most of your money, I would say, went to things like cell phone bill, car payment.
Right.
It wasn't like going to the mall and buying tons of stuff. So,
but I will say I was, for the most part, kind of like living paycheck to paycheck with only a little bit in my savings. And it wasn't until we combined our finances and we came up with a plan together. Because I feel like it's always so much easier to come up with a budgeting plan with, like, you just need help.
and for some people, it does not come natural to budget. And that's where having either somebody or an app like You Need a Budget to help you to figure out how to successfully budget your money.
Right. So to wrap it up, I was not very structured with my money. I was not serious with my money, but whenever we got married, it was important to me to share the financial responsibilities. And then PJ, on the other hand, was very structured with his money. So there were definitely a lot of hard, serious conversations in the beginning, and there were many arguments. I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a piece of cake, and it was something that we worked on for months.
Yeah, we definitely had a lot of tension when dealing with money once we got to the point in our relationship where we were talking about using our money together to pay for bills that we have together and whether or not we should combine that account and spending habits. And so even though that we did join our accounts and that was part of the biggest struggle that we still had obstacles to overcome. And we're going to talk about those now. So the next question that we are going to answer is, how did you overcome your budgeting struggles? So we're at the point now in our relationship that we are married. We have joined our bank accounts. I think in the beginning we both had, we combined one bank account and we kept separate savings accounts. And at the time, it was a nice little stepping stone to get to where we are now, which is all of our accounts are combined. I feel like that was one of the ways that we were able to overcome the feeling of anxiousness of combining accounts, because we each had our plan B. Well, if we can't do this together, we still have a savings account that we can, or at least for me anyways. I was like, well, if we aren't able to cover our bills with our joint account, I'll have my savings that I can take care of things. So that was a nice little stepping stone. And then another way that we overcame some struggles was by setting rules or goals
and boundaries
when it came to the money. So why don't you talk about some of the ways that we established some rules between ourselves?
Yeah, for sure. So one of the biggest things was a spending limit. And that sounds restrictive, but it was honestly one of the things that helped us early on stay on the same page. And it's something that we still do and follow today. And what I mean by that is we set a limit to where anything over, I think it was, well,
I think it was low in the beginning. I think it was like $50.
Yeah, so anything over $50 that we wanted to buy, we would check in with the other one first. And so if it was, an expensive piece of clothing, and we would say, hey, this is what I'm going to buy. Are you good with this? Etc. And I don't think there's ever been a time where we're like, nope, you can't buy that. But it's just about having the respect and the courtesy of making sure that you guys are on the same page, that there are no surprises, and it's a really foolproof way to successfully budget your money together. And we still do that today. We're a little bit more lenient on it, but it's definitely a great way to make sure that you guys are communicating with each other, and that, again, that there are no surprises.
Another thing that we did in the beginning, well, actually, this is something that I always did, but it was something that we started doing together, was to sit down every single month and write out what bills we had, because that does change monthly sometimes. So all of your subscription-based things, like whatever they may be, you would write all those down. Utilities, if you have car payments, house payment, or rent, all of that stuff you would write out. One thing that we would also do is think about ways that we could cut any of those down. So if there was something on there that we weren't using, we would cut it out. Usually it was our gym membership that we would cut out and just be like, well, we're not really going, we're gonna cut that out. But that helped by also doing it together, reinforce that we knew where our money was going, but also ways to save our money by cutting out the things that we did not use. Or we were like, whoa, we spent a lot of money last month on going out to eat. We're gonna budget better for this next month.
Right. However you choose to budget your money together as a couple, the most important thing is communication. Have those hard conversations up front so that you're not having them years down the road, so that there are no surprises, and so that you guys are all on the same page. Take it from us, like we said, it was very difficult in the beginning, but over the last 5 years of having a combined bank account, finances, and a budget, we have really gotten into a groove and a routine, and we're now very comfortable with how we budget together and how we spend our money together.
Yeah. One thing I do want to touch on though is some people may not find that combining your bank account is the right decision for you, and I've been a very strong advocate for that since the very beginning. We may have started this and doing our bank accounts together may not have worked, and I think it really is just dependent on the relationship and your spending habits. If you're both able to get to a place where your spending habits match, I feel like that's a great way for you to combine accounts. But if you can't ever get there, I don't recommend combining your account. That does not say that you can't still budget together. As a couple, I think it's healthy to budget together, but you don't have to have combined bank accounts to do that. So it is something that you can both, if you don't have the same spending habits, maybe you didn't combine your bank accounts together, you can still budget your money together separately, or maybe you have one account that's together and the others are not together. But just because we have shared bank accounts, that works for us. It may not work for you, but everyone can budget together. So that is one really cool thing about it, is when you learn how to budget correctly, it is a fun thing to share with your partner.
So the last question we're going to get into is, how can I share a budget with my partner and stop the fighting for good? This is where You Need a Budget, also known as YNAB, comes in. YNAB is an award-winning personal finance software and an app that helps you gain total control of your money. They help you get out of debt, build a budget, and build up your savings. This is such a helpful tool for people who want to come up with a budget that works for them and stick to it month to month. Their approach to budgeting is so different from all of the other budgeting platforms out there, because they focus on you living off of the money that you made last month in order to pay your bills for this month, so that you're not living in that paycheck to paycheck cycle. And the way they do that is quite genius. They have these 4 rules that you follow, and if you stick to them, you can really be successful in your budgeting. We've been using YNAB for a while now, but whenever we first signed up and started using the platform, we started noticing some similarities of some things that we were already doing subconsciously. And I felt like that was a reassuring moment that maybe we're doing something right here. So let's go over the 4 rules real quick. So rule number 1 is give every dollar a job. You need to know exactly how much money you have right now, and only the money you have right now, before you ever spend a dime. This way there are no surprises, and you are prepared for how you want to spend your money that month, so that you can successfully manage your expenses.
That was one thing that I was actually bad at whenever I first got into real estate. So you would go under contract on a house. As a realtor, you know that you're going to be closing on this house in the next 30 to 45 days. So I would sit down and write out what my commission was going to be and be like, ooh, I'm going to make this much money on this day. And then the deal would fall apart. I was like, what just happened? I was really hoping for that money on this date. So that is very important to make sure you do not plan for the money that you're going to supposedly be getting in the future.
Yes.
But yeah, I had to work on that one.
So rule number 2 is embrace your true expenses. So you need to figure out what you really spend and treat those infrequent expenses like twice a year car insurance or like replacing your laptop every 2 years. And you need to include those in your monthly budget so that you're not surprised by them when they come around.
Yeah.
So even though they're not a month-to-month payment, you still know that they're coming, you are prepared, and then you can budget accordingly. So YNAB's third rule is to roll with the punches. And what that means is it's okay to adjust your budget accordingly. So say that you spend more money on a gift for your sister's birthday than you had originally budgeted for that month. All that means is that you just need to adjust your budget, and that's okay. I like what they say. They describe it as adjusting your budget is not seen as a failure, it's seen as being flexible. And moving money around like that shows that you are serious about having a budget and you're sticking to it. And I know that it is discouraging sometimes, but that just means that, if you spend too much money on a birthday gift, you just take money from something else that you're budgeting and you adjust it accordingly. And the truth is that life happens sometimes, and there are always going to be things that we don't plan for.
And maybe not even have control over. For instance, a few months ago, our mortgage payment increased by $100 because not only did our taxes go up, our local taxes, like property taxes, but also our insurance policy went up, which increased our mortgage payment because it was escrowed into our mortgage payment. So there are things that you may not have control over.
Yeah.
So roll with the punches, adjust your budget, and move on.
Yeah. And the fourth and final rule is to age your money. And what that means is to work on breaking the paycheck to paycheck cycle and get to a point where you are using the money you earned last month to pay this month's bills, and so on and so on. This will help to create such a peace of mind and really get to a place where you are building your savings up so that you have a little cushion to spend your money a little more freely. And that doesn't mean to stop budgeting. That just means that you can let out and exhale in a sigh of relief.
Yeah, so for me, it was more about taking away that anxious feeling of, am I gonna be okay to pay all my bills? So this is one of the rules that I was always really good at. I was always really good at having enough money in my savings account to make sure that my bills were covered for not just the month that I'm paying for them, but for future bills that I'm gonna have. And for me, it was like an anxiety situation. I didn't want to feel, I felt stressed when I didn't feel like I had enough money to pay the bills. So to overcome that, I always had enough in savings. So I aged my money. That was one of the rules that I really do recommend, and I really love using that rule for sure. I have used it for a very long time.
Right. YNAB offers many different ways that you can budget together as a couple so that there's a little bit for everyone based on your personal preferences and your comfort level. We use the shared accounts approach where we budget with our shared bank accounts. That's what works for us. If that doesn't work for you, YNAB also offers a way to budget with separate accounts. So you can keep your separate accounts, but still share a budget. So again, you're all on the same page, there are no surprises, and you can effectively budget your money together. Another way they offer is to budget with hybrid accounts, meaning you can have a mixture of shared accounts and separate accounts. So maybe you share one account for the bills, but you have separate savings accounts or separate accounts for spending money on fun or food or whatever. So they offer different ways to budget your money based on your different priorities together and separately as an individual. So we highly recommend You Need a Budget. They have helped us tremendously since we have been using them. And it's just a great way to stay organized, to, again, create a budget, build up your savings, and get out of debt. Right now, You Need a Budget is offering a free 34-day trial, no credit card required. I'm not joking whenever I say that. Try it out for 34 days, and you can click the link in our description to get started. So I feel like that about wraps it up. That is all the money talk we have for you today. Hopefully you guys learned something, and if you have any questions for us, you can leave them in the comments below. Once again, we want to give a huge thank you to You Need a Budget for sponsoring today's video. If you want to find out more information about them, click the link in our description below. Until next time, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.